Hey, what's going on, everybody? Back again on Hotline Sehwani, and today I have my special guest, Olympus Gaming, once again for the Paper Mario Retrospective. Go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Yo, what up? Once again, Olympus Gaming, back again with Hotline Sehwani. You guys seem to really love these retrospectives and these conversations, so we're back at it once again. Absolutely.
And I think we have a good dynamic when coming to these games, and a lot of the times when I like discussions between some of our YouTube channels that I like to watch, I want to watch some personal experiences and put into the games, and I have a lot of personal experience in the Paper Mario franchise, and so does Olympus Gaming. So today what we're going to be doing is running through all the Paper Mario games leading up into Origami King, as well as talking about Mario RPG, which kind of started off this whole game as far as RPG goes for Mario. And then we're going to end this video with ranking all our favorite Mario RPG games. So let's begin with the first game that kind of kicked this all off, Super Mario RPG, which was on the NES and was co-developed with Square Enix. So Olympus, kind of give me some of your thoughts on that game.
Well, Super Mario RPG, so that was one of the games I played way later, because I didn't grow up with the Super Nintendo, so by the time that game came and went, I had no idea it even existed. So my first RPG, and we'll get into this a little bit later, was actually Mario Luigi Superstar Saga. So once I played and beat that, I really enjoyed what I played. Obviously that made me want to go back and play some of the previous RPG entries, so starting with the very top one was Super Mario RPG. Overall thoughts, I always joke around with my Twitch followers about this, but it feels like a Final Fantasy game that got repurposed as a Mario RPG, because there's a lot of similar elements there when it comes to the battle system, the art style, so on and so forth. It's a very traditional SNES era RPG.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those. It's really funny. I'm on the same boat as you. I jumped on that game years later. The NES sailed for me when I was a kid at this time. So it does definitely feel like this came out in 1996, and I know Final Fantasy VI was just wrapped up, and Nintendo kind of wanted to get involved in the whole RPG side. And I was actually looking into this too. I thought this was kind of funny that you mentioned how this feels like a Final Fantasy game, and naturally with Square Enix's involvement with it. And they Miyamoto, and when they pitched the idea of the game to Miyamoto, Mario actually had a sword and it was riding a horse. And that's actually where the hammer idea came from, to get implemented into this game. So Square Enix was pushing for Mario to have, some sort of a weapon. And in this case, it was, the hammer. So I guess they kind of, as a callback to the Donkey Kong side.
Oh yeah.
But so that was kind of cool. But one of the things that I really liked about this game one of the things about the Mario RPG games that was kind of cool is that it started slowly introducing, in this game at least, the action events, right? Like as it's turn-based, you have to perform those specific events. So how did you feel, I guess, about that combat system in comparison to other RPGs?
I think it actually kind of it really forced the player to really kind of not only have a deeper level of strategy, but also consider their button inputs as well. And by the time I got to Super Mario RPG, I was already kind of used to the faster gameplay of Mario and Luigi, so on and so forth. So when I got to it, it felt natural to me, because I was already used to how Mario RPGs work. So I would only imagine if somebody came into Super Mario RPG when it first came out, that could have been a little daunting. Now, I'm not sure if other RPGs did it beforehand. I'm pretty sure somebody in the comments will correct me on that, but I think Mario RPG was the first one to really kind of implement button inputs alongside attacks.
Yeah, and I think that was definitely because they wanted to keep the quote-unquote action style of Mario and not make it a completely turn-based, and that idea actually came from Nintendo and implement in this game. So yeah, definitely, if that's correct, and if that's wrong, let us know in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that's where this kind of got kicked off on.
Yeah, if it didn't start, it at least popularized it. So
yeah, one of the things I actually really like about this game that's kind of charming is it starts off. As far as a story, we haven't really, touched on this, but it starts off as your traditional Mario needs to save Peach and, going to Bowser's castle and whatnot. And then there's a plot twist about that. So how did you feel on that story where it kind of throws the player for a surprise? Like this is not what you have in store.
Well, I think now looking back on it, I'm pretty sure people who grew up with the SNES or they played Super Mario RPG when it first came out, I'm pretty sure they were really shocked because even to this day, one of the biggest misconceptions that Mario games don't have stories. And usually when somebody says that to me, well, obviously you haven't played any of the RPGs. So I think with the RPGs in general, Nintendo and whoever they're partnering with use it as a way to kind of put story elements and different things into a Mario game that wouldn't necessarily fit in a platforming title. So I thought the story was, for what it was, I thought the story was entertaining and kept me engaged. I got a couple laughs out of it. I love the villains. I like the different bosses that you fight, especially like the knockoff Power Rangers and all that. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and then Smithy he was a cool antagonist to this game, and I think one of my favorite parts about this story, which, just kind of funny, is the writers kind of go out of their way. Do you remember in Bowser's Castle where you can kind of go through his stuff and read some of his his dialogue and just his diaries in a sense?
Oh yeah.
So he's very they make Bowser very personable, and the way he describes Peach is almost like this high school boy-esque relationship with this character. So it was really funny. The writing was really good, and I'm happy that they had this partnership. And before we kind of jump to the next topic on this game, one of the characters that really kind of stuck out on this was Geno, right?
Oh, yeah.
And Geno was one character that people want to this day to see in Smash as some sort of representation. So how do you feel about this character? Why do you think he resonates so well with people?
That is something I have yet to figure out, to be honest with you.
I'm on the same boat, that's why I asked.
Yeah, I think it's more so, I think it kind of plays into, I guess fans just want acknowledgement of Mario RPG and acknowledgement of characters that we haven't seen in any other media. Because I guess with Geno was a one-off. We only seen him in, Super Mario RPG. Now, I know he made a cameo in Mario and Luigi in the cafe scene, all that, but yeah, I mean, that was the only real representation we got. So I think people just want to see Nintendo to say, hey, we remember this. So
yeah, no, I feel the same way, and I know we kind of discussed this a little bit in our last retrospective on the Smash one, and if you guys haven't seen that, definitely check that out in the card above. But we mentioned how Paper Mario might actually have a real chance of getting a slot in the Fighter's Pass coming up. So I wonder if Paper Mario gets in, if that would satisfy the itch of just having that Mario RPG representation. So I think that's kind of a good segue into our next game, Paper Mario on the N64.
Paper Mario.
Yep, one that kind of, originally this game was called the, Super Mario RPG 2, but apparently, Square Enix and Nintendo, they decided not to work together clearly, and Nintendo took a different direction with it. So this game kind of really was built off of the whole a storybook vibe, hence the paper in nature, right? So did you play this? Is this one of the games that you actually had some hands-on experiences when it came out, or did you come back to it later on also?
No, this is another one I came back to later on. I played Paper Mario for the first time when the Wii Virtual Console dropped it. Yeah, and I was really curious because by this time I already played Superstar Saga, and I was really heavy into the Mario and Luigi stuff. So when I said, okay, Paper Mario, this is a game I've always heard about on online forums. Usually when people mention RPGs, Paper Mario was in a discussion. So it was like, what, $10? Let me go ahead and grab it. Let me check it out. And I played it, and it was cool. I really didn't see any glaring issues with the game as a whole. So I did enjoy the game for what it was.
Yeah. No, I definitely liked this game a lot. I felt that it had a lot of really good, inspired areas. One of my favorites is that Shy Guy toy box. That was really cool. Mm-hmm. The level in that area. And this also kicked off the partners, which
yes.
I think is played a huge part in Paper Mario, and you know, people really love these characters. So from the partner side, you know, who are some of your favorites that kind of stick out to you in your head, specifically in the N64 title?
I can't think of the name because it's been a while since I played the original Paper Mario, but I love the pink Bonbon.
Bombette.
Bombette, yeah. And I also love the sassy Boo, the one that you rescue in the haunted house. No, you rescue her from the boss who eats the ghost. I can't remember the name for the life of me, but yes, she has like the slap attack, and she has the fan, and she's like always have like these witty replies to people who says anything to her. So those two characters to me were like my top favorite.
Yeah,
first Paper Mario.
Yeah, the sassy Boo was one of my favorites too. I forgot the name also, but in the meantime, I'll make sure it pops up on the screen for people viewing later on. Yeah. But it's one of the things I liked about these partners is that they just had so much, you know, personality to them, and that's kind of what made a lot of these characters really interesting and fun. So, you know, and using them also in battle was really interesting and different, you know, from the prior game. So, what were I guess in your opinion, you know, from the battle scenes, what did you like about it? Like, one of the things I liked was all the items, you know, that you were able to kind of collect. And I remember playing this. I also kind of dived into this later. My first Paper Mario game that I played on a console was the next one we're about to talk about, but I like the item system in this game because it really made me think and kind of strategize of like what I needed to save, because you're only limited to I think it was like 10 items at the time. So you could only hold on to those. So I was like, you know, what am I supposed to do? You know, do I hold on? Do I use them? So it kind of gives me like a balancing act. So I guess how did you feel that evolved from the prior game?
I think it still has elements from Super Mario RPG because with the whole timing, like example, like if you Paper Mario, when you jump as Mario, if you press the A button exactly when Mario lands on the Goomba, whatever he's fighting, it bounces off and gives you another hit. So it's kind of like that reward system that you got in Super Mario RPG. The item system was great as well. I did enjoy being able to use like the POW blocks and the fire flowers, so on and so forth. But I think the standout thing for me was the stars that you got. I think they're called star spirits, where you had one that had an element of healing, you had one that would cause like a star storm, and it would like eliminate everything on the screen. And I thought those powers were really interesting to see, in a Mario RPG.
Yeah, no, it was definitely cool. By the way, it's Bo.
Bo, yes.
I was, as you were talking, I'm like, what's the name of this now? It's gonna bother me. So I needed to pull it up.
That's
Bo. It. But definitely. So I guess, before jumping on to the next game, do you have, any closing thoughts on Paper Mario? Anything you kind of want to mention about the N64 title specifically?
I think it's a solid RPG. I definitely understand, the whole Super Mario RPG 2, because when you really look at Paper Mario 64, they rarely play on the whole paper theme that much. It's there here and there, but when we get into the later games, you definitely see they kind of bring the whole paper theme to life more so in later consoles. So as a RPG standalone, solid.
Yeah, I think this game, in my opinion, kind of ranks kind of high up for me, just as far as the Paper Mario franchise goes, just because it set the framework. Like a Mario RPG is its own, in my opinion, it's its own standalone. It definitely inspired Paper Mario for obvious reasons, but this game kind of set off like what is a Paper Mario game, how it should be, what are the partners, how the enemy should be, some of the environments, the soundtracks. And going into the next game, I think one of the reasons Paper Mario 1000 Years Door is considered to be a fan favorite is it almost feels like a 2.0 version of the N64, where it took everything that people really liked and built off of that. So that's, and on top of that, you're right, like they the whole paper theme was more or less kind of it was there in the story driven, right? Because I think initially it was called like Mario Story in Japan, so they kind of went with that just for the sake of being, you know, a storybook. But they don't really get into that until Sticker Star, which we will get into. So jumping into our next game here, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. This is, you know, this game was not well received amongst fans. I'm just kidding. But yeah. Everyone seems to really, really love this game. And I'm assuming, you know, just like that this was, you actually play this on console, because I play this on console.
Yes.
So let's start off with the story. This is a very, in my opinion, it's a dark story for a Mario game. So
yeah.
How do you feel about the Shadow Queen in Paper Mario Thousand Year Door?
You know, so when it comes to Thousand Year Door, what I always look at, because the GameCube, that was like my entry into like home Nintendo console. I already had like Game Boys and all that before I was like a home console. The GameCube was the one. So that was the one I was like picking up everything on the shelf for. So Paper Mario Thousand Year Door is a product of the GameCube. When you look at the GameCube library as a whole, you know, when I think of the GameCube and the first party IPs, experimental. It was the first one to take Mario out of the Mushroom Kingdom in both Sunshine and Thousand Year Door. When you look at Star Fox, very experimental. When you look at Zelda games on the GameCube, very experimental. And Paper Mario Thousand Year Door is no exception to that. So the story, I love it when Mario take darker tones. I think is it can be very risky, but I think from a story perspective, it has a lot of, because it keeps the story fresh. You know, there's only so many times you can see Mario chase after Peach and Bowser. I mean, so many times you can see that. But when you add an extra element and you make the story darker, I think that has much higher retention long term.
Of course, and it also makes the story more interesting and keeps players wanting to kind of naturally progress and move on. And one of the things about this game that I think people really, really love and enjoy outside of the story, because, you know, the story is naturally there to kind of progress and keep players interested, as we said, is the partners. The partners in this game are very innovative. They're kind of full of, you know, they're very, how should I say this? They're like very unique in their own sense, so that they kind of take a lot of elements from the Mario universe and they own it, like they make it their own. You know, like the mini Yoshi, for instance, is, you know, a perfect example. Like that's its own, you know, its own character. It kind of borrows it over. Vivian is one of my, you know, my favorites from this game. That they really kind of capture a lot of personality that people were like, and the partner is really fun to use. Yes. when navigating through the map. So let's kind of talk a little bit about that. So what were some of your favorite partners, and, you know, how did you like them kind of feeling into the game?
Ooh, Thousand Year Door, yo. I just kind of looking at the partners is pretty much on par with what you said. I love the Yoshi kid. I love Vivian. And Koops was, I like Koops a lot too, because Koops, he was just like a Koopa who was just kind of like rough around the edges and just trying to make it out here, man. So I like Yoshi Kid, Vivian, and probably Koops the most.
One of the funny things about Koops, in my opinion, was it was basically Cooper from Paper Mario N64, and they just kind of upgraded him into this game, which was fun. But he was kind of like that relatable Koopa. He's just trying to make it out, you know. But and one of the things that I really liked about this game, besides, you know, the partners and going through, is I really enjoyed the battle system and how it worked. And this, in my opinion, is my favorite, you know, battle system in the Paper Mario Thousand Year Door series, and Paper Mario series overall. So I guess, you know, a couple of like elements is I kind of building off of what we discussed before on Paper Mario 64, is you really need to feel like your input matters. Like, it's not just like your simple like, hey, I'm gonna choose an attack and like let's hope for the best. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to be on your A game to make sure you time properly with everything. And in this game too, in the battle system, like the super guarding is so awesome in this game. Like you feel like so rewarded, like when you block something, you know, you block something in this game. So I guess, you know, some of your thoughts on the battle system.
I think it's a complete refinement over what they established in Paper Mario 1. Yeah, what I really like, you said, like super guarding and just the refinement over, you know, your overall attacks. But I also like the whole theme of it kind of being played up as like a stage play. So like you, like on certain parts of the game, you have like people like throwing things from the audience, like health items and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool. So yeah, I mean, you kind of hit it right on the head with the, you know, super guarding and just it being an overall refinement of what Paper Mario 1 kind of established.
Sure. And another thing is, as far as I guess some of the attack systems, how did you feel like some of like the magic attacks, you know, the partner attacks were in this game, like, you know, Vivian's fire and you know, some of the Yoshi kids attacks. Like, how did you feel like that contributed to the battle overall?
I think it definitely added a bit of strategy for sure. I mean, kind of the same what they did in Paper Mario 1. Just kind of pick, you know, whatever partner kind of fit the scenario the best. So I, as far as that goes with the partner system, it is a bit of a refinement, but I think is probably right on par with Paper Mario 1, to me at least.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things I guess I didn't really recognize it as much, you know, when I played it originally on the GameCube. But you know, later on, looking back at this game, is I thought it was really cool that this game, like, it gets all the battles and everything it gets staged out like it's a play. Yeah. You know, for all the characters to kind of watch and see. So I thought that was kind of, you know, a neat touch, and kind of building off that whole, you know, the story, you know, motive in this game. So. I guess, you know, some closing thoughts for Thousand Year Door, you know, the fan favorite game that everyone seems to like.
Yeah, Thousand Year Door is, in my opinion, if you're going to play an old school Paper Mario game, this is the one that you want to play. Not only does it have a, you know, refined battle system, not only does it has, you know, more interesting partners, in my opinion, but it also really kind of plays up the whole name Paper Mario. You know, in the first game, Paper Mario 64, yeah, it was kind of mentioned here and there and little cute stuff here and there, but this game really kind of brings it home as far as like Mario traveling as a paper plane and kind of doing more things with the whole paper gimmick. So if you're going to play an old school Paper Mario game, this is the one that you want to play. Yeah,
he all transform into the plane, the boat, you know, so it definitely kind of, they integrate that in. And it's not to a point where it's too much, you know, like everything's not paper yet, you know, so it's just like it's very to a point like navigation, getting around, and kind of establishing Paper Mario almost as his own character outside of Mario, which was kind of interesting. But overall, you know, I'm on board with you. If you want to play and go back and play a Paper Mario game, this is definitely something I would recommend. This game, in my opinion, is definitely up there on the GameCube list. You know, if you're trying to even pick up a copy of this now, it's probably like $150 somewhere on eBay. So it's, you know, it doesn't come cheap, but it's for a reason. Is because that everybody, you know, they what makes a Paper Mario game is, you know, the characters, the story, and the battle system. So that's kind of like those three tiers that I think checks the boxes for everybody. So going into our next game is Super Paper Mario on the Wii. So, you know, this game kind of takes a little bit of a departure from what everybody's used to, and kind of starts diving into the whole, you know, the 2D side-scrolling platformer mechanic again, and it was very different. I remember jumping on board on this and kind of expecting something else, because it still has the story, you know, the story is still there, but it's such a jump from what I felt, you know, was Thousand Year Door. And it's not to say that there's not enjoyment here. There is, you know, we're about to kind of get into that, but it's different, you know. And it's how did you feel, you know, turning on your Wii and playing this for the first time?
So this is another game I had to come back to, because I think around this time when this game came out, But we already had the Mario and Luigi series kind of up and running. And then we also had other Mario games on the same platform. So we had like, new Super Mario Bros. Then we had the Mario Galaxy games. Then we had Mario this. So I think for me personally, I was feeling a bit of Mario fatigue by the time this came around. So when I finally got to when I played it, you're right, the story is still there. There are still like frameworks of an RPG there with the leveling system, so on and so forth. But it is more of a hybrid game. I do feel like they kind of focus more in on the platforming and the whole, changing of the planes mechanic where you switch from 2D to 3D, which is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. But overall, kind of looking at it as its own thing and not really, attaching it to the original two, I think on its own, it's a fun game.
Yeah. And as far as the story, this is another kind of jumping into it. This is probably with Dementio as the antagonist of this game is very... I enjoyed him as a villain. I thought it was a fun story and also kind of surprisingly dark too for a Mario game. But one of the things that I didn't enjoy playing this game is we kind of got swapped out. There was a bait and switch Olympus in this game where we lost the partners, but we gained pixels. So
you did.
I guess that's something that I don't know how well received that is for everybody. For me, it was kind of let down. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, same. I would say just seeing how good Thousand Year Door was, you would think they would want to keep that momentum up instead of just kind of throwing a curveball at the Paper Mario fans, the established fan bases. And I guess my speculation with that is, Nintendo saw like how well received the Mario and Luigi series was. Like, okay, that could be our premier RPG series. Let's use the Paper Mario series to kind of experiment around with different gameplay elements. So let's just kind of take a step back and see what sticks and what doesn't. And, it just seems like at this point they just really wanted to experiment with an established franchise since they already had another RPG on the market at that time.
Yeah, I mean that could be it. I have a little bit of a different opinion that kind of gets into how the game starts shaping up. Is one of the big things about this game that we haven't really touched on is the whole like the 2D transitioning into 3D world. Mm-hmm. So like that was a really big gimmick in this game because you were supposed to switch. That always threw me for a loop because I'm playing Paper Mario. Like, why am I going into the third dimension now? But I felt one of the things about this game is I felt early on, like the first half of the game for me, it felt very like they were trying to figure out what to do. Like what kind of a game with it. Like it was almost like an identity crisis in a way, because like the first half is like a platformer and then the second half of the game becomes like a puzzle game. You know what I'm saying? Like where he's now Super Paper Mario is in outer space and he's in Bitland and now he's in like the underwear, which is like the hell quote unquote in this game. And that's a huge plus for me in this game. I love the environments, love the music. But the second half was really strong because I felt like they finally nailed it. They're like, okay, this is what we want to be. But early on, there was some stuff that felt kind of strange. Like, for instance, in this game, you can play as, Paper Peach and Paper Luigi and Paper Bowser. But you to navigate these worlds, you need that whole 2D to 3D, and Mario is like the only character that can do it. Right. So I never found myself, messing around with them at all. But I felt that this game was, as you said, like the trying to experiment is, one way we can look at it for Nintendo, and I think definitely that was the case. But I felt that they were almost trying to, in a way, kind of making this more of a casual game and kind of transitioning out of the RPG. And I think that's kind of the direction that we slowly start going into today. I think with the exception of Origami King, that brings some stuff back, but we kind of see a departure into the next game too, where they kind of build off this idea as a big hybrid game. But overall, different, again, different game, different experience. Any last thoughts on Super Paper Mario before we transition into everyone's favorite game?
Super Paper Mario is a very interesting title because I do have some Twitch followers who, Super Paper Mario was their first. I mean, people forget how big the Wii was. The Wii was like 101+ million consoles sold. So for a lot of people, this was their first ever exposure to Paper Mario. And I have people who just swears by this game. They love it. And I can see some redeeming qualities, like the whole 2D to 3D thing, I think was very innovative. But I think like you said, my only issue with it was we already have Mario platformers, on the Wii already, so you just kind of throw this on top of the pile. Like, what makes this stand out besides that one gimmick? So I'm indifferent to it. It's a game I plan on revisiting eventually, but I really don't have any strong or negative feelings for it.
Yeah, and a lot of people, that's a really good point to make, is that the Wii sold over 100 million units. So the exposure level to this game was huge, and there's no doubt in my mind that had created some big decisions in Nintendo to kind of prompt some of the changes that we'll see into the next game here. But I have seen this game. It's not, for me, it's not that I didn't enjoy this game. Like, I think there is some fun to have in it. As I said, like, the environment's really good time. Like, who would have ever thought I would see Mario end up in like a hell-like area, and the music is extremely eerie and it's fun, and I enjoyed all of those elements. But if I wanted to play a 2D 3D Mario game, I wouldn't have picked up this game. So that's kind of where I think that identity crisis kind of comes into play. But everyone has their views on it, and it's not a bad game in my opinion. I just wish it was called something else. That's kind of how I see it. So jumping into the 3DS title, stickers, the 3DS game that kind of kicks off, in my opinion, the quote unquote the modern Paper Mario, which is the Sticker Star. Yeah. So I'll let you kind of take the lead on this one. But how did you feel about Sticker Star for the first time?
Well, as a disclaimer, I have not played Sticker Star in its entirety. I may have played like an hour and a half, but from what I have played and different reviews I've watched, one thing I will always commend Sticker Star on is, visually speaking, it is a very gorgeous game, especially considering it was on a handheld. So visually, the game looks great. Besides that, I do think that there is a divide with Sticker Star, because if you look at like the critics rating, IGN and all these other, outlets, they love Sticker Star. They're giving it 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, whatever the case is. But when you talk to the actual fans of the game, or fans of the series, you hear a totally different tune. I hate Sticker Star. It's too much backtracking. It's too easy. They changed it too much. They casualized it. So I think I always thought that dynamic is really interesting, in particular to this game, how the critics seem to find so much, positivity with it. But when you talk to the actual fans and, the fan base of Paper Mario as a whole, it's a completely different story.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just pulling it up now as you're talking. So the Metacritic score is 75, but the user score is 5.5. So that's it's a good point, right? Where people, I just think, as far as how that divide gets caused between like a critic and the fan is, a lot of the times the critics are just viewing these games as one-off titles and not a bigger picture in the series,
Yeah, that's a good point.
They usually kind of pick off one movie or one game. A lot of the times when I talk about critics and go on rants about critics, I'm usually talking about movies. That's why. But where I sometimes there are stuff out there where like the critic score is like 90% and the fan score is like 10, and I'm like, why is this? But just to kind of to stay on topic on the Sticker Star. I played about 2.5 hours of this game. I did not enjoy it. One of the thing about this game is that I kind of felt was almost like a step backwards. Is this game kind of now Bowser is back as the main villain, so it kind of felt like a you're kind of digressing in this sense. Like I understood, Paper Mario 64 making Bowser the villain because this is the first one. They want to, they're trying to feel out how this goes, and that was like my first red flag in my head. I'm like, that's weird. We've had all these cool villains kind of leading up before this, and now they're back to Bowser. So that was my first turn back now. And I think another complaint that people have on this game is that, from my own perspective, and then I think a lot of other people's too, is that this is the first game that kind of departs from the story. So there really is no story. It's kind of just straightforward, as your typical Mario game would be. And I think a lot of the reason for that is, just some higher-ups at Nintendo's. I was actually looking into this before we even had this conversation on exactly why this was kind of like that turning point of a game. And they actually held a Club Nintendo poll and on the Paper Mario series, and there's usually this very infamous poll that everyone talks about, and like this whole Paper Mario franchise overall is right. And the story got like a 1%. Like, people who care about the story was like 1%. So those were like flags for Nintendo to be like, I guess they don't need it. They don't care about this stuff. So let's kind of just jump into this. And I have questions on the poll already, just because I'm curious of the overall demographic of who they're asking these questions to. But I felt that was just such a loss on me, where I'm like, okay, like, we're back at this again, just like, if I wanted to play like a point A to point B Mario game, I would just play something else, and then another thing is that there really is no fun and unique characters anymore. Like, we don't have like what we were talking about, like the Bombette and Koops and Vivian and Yoshi Kid. So that was, I think another big thing that fans look down on this game, like they not in a negative way, but in a negative way, because they missed those characters and their involvement. So, how did you feel? I guess a lot of these changes, impacted the series moving forward into the next couple Mario games coming up.
Ooh, that is a interesting one.
I know that's a loaded question.
Yeah, because I guess the way that I look at it personally is because I guess for me, since I don't have that big attachment to Paper Mario as a series as most people do, especially people who grew up with it and who's very passionate about Paper Mario series. I always got my RPG fix, honestly, for Mario from the Mario and Luigi series. So when Paper Mario was taking this huge departure, I was like, what y'all complaining about? We just got, Mario Luigi Dream Team. Like, if you want like a Mario RPG, play that. But I get it. They're two completely different, franchises, whatever. So I think for me, I didn't take the blow that hard. Just like, listen, if Paper Mario wants to go off and do its own thing, I have another RPG series featuring Mario and Luigi that I can fall back on. But I guess a lot of people didn't view it that way.
Yeah, and I actually just, I know we had this conversation, but before we decided to do, this video is, I'm on the same boat with you. I was actually a huge fan of Mario and Luigi RPG series, and those games were so clean cut and great. And, if you guys are interested in seeing those, let us know also. But I kind of understand where you're coming from on that, where, hey, if you want that RPG experience, like, let's just, play those games. But I see where you're coming from, where someone's like, they see this world kind of being built out in front of them, with as far as Paper Mario is going, and then all of a sudden, like, you're back to, your standard Bowser story, and just the Toads and your normal Koopas. So I get that. There's always like this, I felt like there was like kind of universe building around the Paper Mario franchise that made it interesting to people to want to check it out. But then, that digression kind of caused like the whole shift amongst everybody. But but one of the things that you kind of mentioned on is this is that whole avenue into the whole really Nintendo takes the whole change in like the whole paper art style on how that is, and before the paper was really just more of a, you know, they used it here and there, but it wasn't to this extent. And I do think the game looks really good as far as aesthetically, and it has some pretty good soundtracks as well. So those are some positives into this as a whole. So, yeah. But definitely don't. If the moral of the story on this one is skip this game and just play Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. Or what was your favorite one that you said?
Ooh, Superstar Saga, which is available on the Game Boy Advance and the 3DS. Play that, please.
Definitely. We're plugging this right now. We're not sponsored. Alrighty, so let's get into Color Splash, which came out on the Wii U on 2016. So I think this was a game that Olympus and I we didn't really play, but we kind of had to look into this to kind of get a good understanding of how it was received. So that's right. A disclosure on this one, but from what I saw, I'll get into what I saw. But what did you see overall on this one?
So when it initially came out or announced or whatever the case is, I think the Wii U was pretty late in the Wii U's life cycle. I think by this time everybody was so focused on the NX. Now that we know it's the Nintendo Switch, but the game just came out so late in the life cycle that I just think a lot of people may have just skipped over it. Now I will say, going back to it today, I'm actually watching one of my Twitch friends, Jay Fries. Shout out to him. He's playing this game currently on his channel, and after beating Origami King, which we'll talk about later, I actually kind of reinvigorated my interest in the Color Splash game, because a lot of people were comparing Origami King to Color Splash. So I was like, okay, if Color Splash is anything like Origami, I may want to go check out Color Splash. So I've been watching his run through of it, and it looks, I'm not gonna front, it looks good. Like I like what I'm watching. Now, of course, your hands-on experience is gonna be different versus just watching it, but I think they kind of found a middle ground starting with this particular game.
Mm-hmm. I definitely feel that this game, from just like looking into it and understanding like where they were going and like the progression and evolution of the Paper Mario overall, is a step up from the last game. The same as the positives from before. The visuals in this game is really pretty and aesthetically pleasing. They definitely start very polishing it up, leading into Origami King on how it should be and how it should look. So it definitely was an improvement. But I think the only thing that I saw that really, well, one of the things that I saw that kind of made me understand like why people are kind of eerie with this game is the battle system, because in this game specifically is they kind of switch out the whole stickers to cards, and that's not something that we jumped into before but in Sticker Star, I should have mentioned this but I forgot. In Sticker Star, there is no normal attack, so you actually need stickers in order to attack in the game.
Right.
And that was something where, like, if you didn't have enough stickers to battle, you couldn't use them, and basically you would die in a lot of different areas. So that they swapped them out, but they replaced them with the card system. And it really uses, like, this is one of those games, in my opinion, like, it uses the Wii U, the gamepad, almost to too much in a sense, where people actually would have to like kind of color in the cards and then swipe it up to actually enter into battle, and so it kind of felt a little sluggish in terms of the flow of the battles, where a lot of the time it seemed that in some of the playthroughs I watched, people were almost kind of going around some of the battles, and that's kind of curious question to ask your friend, because I kind of want to see like how he felt about the combat, because from what I've seen since, you know, they kind of started departing from the whole level ups and the EXP and all of that, in this game in particular, it seemed that people were just kind of going into battles to kind of get more items, kind of like in Sticker Star, where like we got more cards, we got more stickers. So that's one thing. But one of the things I did like about this game is that I actually kind of got from, I haven't had a hands-on experience, but I did when my brother got this game. I kind of tuned in and out watching him kind of go through it. Was Bowser in this game, in my opinion, is back and pretty well written, which I enjoyed because he, in the last two, you know, he kind of takes the last couple, he kind of takes the sidelines. It's, right, instead of Sticker Star naturally, but he's kind of back to the like a very comedian-esque character that's kind of fun and interesting to, you know, to listen to in the game. And my favorite character in this game is Huey.
Oh, wow, okay.
So Huey is in this game, and he's like the buck. He's basically like the Olivia of Color Splash.
Ah, the bucket. Yeah.
So he's basically like the Olivia of Color Splash, and you know, as everyone puts it, Huey is a bro. So
yeah.
So he seemed like he was a really fun character and a very, like, you know, interesting character into Color Splash. So that was a huge plus for me, and seemed good.
Yeah, I would say Color Splash is a game that I am interested in revisiting now that I've played Origami King and just loved it. Well, we'll get into that when we get to it, but Origami King, loved it. So I'm really kind of, Paper Mario Color Splash kind of blipped on my radar. So I'm going to be looking for a copy of that very soon, and hopefully I'll get to play it on Switch or, you know, do a review on it. But it's on my list, so I'll get to it when I get to it.
Yeah. And, you know, just to kind of close out on this game too, and just like Sticker Star, you know, since Nintendo kind of, I guess, got involved with the Paper Mario, the department in Nintendo making these games, and, you know, they kind of put some restrictions on them on which characters they can use, which characters they can't use. There is a lot of Toads in this game. There's tons of Toads. So I was laughing, kind of like looking through where it's like, you know, almost like 80% of the roster is just Toads.
You're gonna see a lot of that at Origami King.
Yep, I know. So there's even a character. I remember they changed it in Origami King, but Professor Toad in Color Splash, I was like, oh, you know, this is different. It could be, you know, it was just a yellow Toad, but they did a little bit different in the next game. So now we're all caught up to speed to the fresh 2020 Origami King.
Oh man.
So I know, Olympus, it seemed like, you know, you had a lot of enjoyment in this game. You know, I did too in so far. So I want you to kind of, you know, take the lead on this conversation because you have a more complete picture of this game.
Yeah, so if you guys don't know, we talked a little bit off video for this. I just finished Origami King not even a week ago. It's been about a couple days, and I would tell you, like, I will go as far as to say, like, this game is probably my game of the year so far. Like, it was that, and you know, it was so crazy. I was a little skeptical. I was like, you know, I got a request for it on Twitch. Okay, let's see what we get ourselves into. And I just found myself just really just loving the hell out of this game. I mean, everything from the music, the way the game looked, how colorful it was, the battle system, the collectibles, the music, everything. Like, this game is great.
Yeah, and one of the things about this game that I noticed off the bat is the maps and the worlds you explore is much larger and more expansive than the last two games in the series, which I really liked. And one of the things also kind of to build off of that too is Bowser isn't the main villain in this game.
He is not.
So it seemed that Nintendo kind of took some cues on, you know, the story and like what people were looking for. So, you know, how did you feel in this game as far as, you know, how did you feel about the villain in this game particularly?
Very dark. You know, one of the things that I saw, you know, when I first started the game, so I played this on Twitch for the very first time, so everybody in the chat saw my reaction. when I saw like that intro cutscene where you have the Origami Peach walking out being controlled and asking questions like, do you think the world would be better if it was folded? Should every toad in the Mushroom Kingdom be silenced? I was like, whoa, we're going there with it.
What is going on?
and I know you haven't finished the game yet, so I won't talk about spoilers because the game is still fairly new. So I won't say any spoilers necessarily, but there are some very dark themes in this game, and also the way the game deals with death, and it was just a lot of things I was just really shocked that they actually put in the game. So for children playing this game, I would imagine some of these things can be nightmare inducing, but it is a very strong story. I was actually really invested into the story, which is rare for a Mario title, especially the RPGs. Yes, the stories are solid, but they're kind of like one and done. Like, okay, that was cute, but this one I was like, I just couldn't wait to play it next. I was like, what is going to happen? Where's Olivia? What's going to happen to Olivia? What's going to happen to this character? So it was good. It was good.
Yeah. No, I agree. The story was very, very different, and I was actually, one of the introduction to me to this game as far as the story goes is, when you first run into Bowser in the beginning of the castle. And he's all like folded up, and it's
that was
kind
hilarious.
It's one of the funniest things about this game, as far as like introducing to you that this is kind of dark. It's very implied that Bowser was like kind of watching his minions get like destroyed, basically. So
right.
And destroyed and taken over, and that was kind of interesting to me, and I did think King Ali kind of served as a good villain for this game, and definitely puts the spin on it too, where this isn't the same type of game anymore. Like, it kind of reminded me of almost how Mario RPG was, where it's like you're expecting the same, like, okay, I want to go to Peach's castle, I'm finding out that Peach gets kidnapped, but it's like, no, that's not the case in this game. So
right.
That was kind of cool. And also, they bring back partners to an extent, which was kind of neat, I guess, for people, and like Bobby, for instance, in this game, where and Olivia, kind of where they're not in the same vein as Thousand Year Door, but I think it's kind of there too, which was kind of neat in my opinion. I guess who was your favorite character that they introduced in Thousand Year Door, Origami King?
The hands down, the standout character to me was definitely Olivia. Definitely Olivia. Just the wisecrack she would do, the fact that she was able to show emotion very effectively in this game. Like I said, I don't want to get into spoiler territory, so I'm not going to actually go into detail about that part. But just her character overall, like, I just really identified with her character and felt for the character. So I think Olivia is definitely the standout. Luigi, he's back. He's more of a comic relief in this game. With him and his whole thing about finding the right key. That whole gag throughout the entire game was pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
And, besides that, yeah, I would just say Olivia is probably immediately when I think of Origami King, my mind goes straight to the Olivia character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's definitely, Olivia is definitely in my mind a standout character in the Mario franchise, or I guess in this case the Paper Mario franchise. But it's just the way she's written, and not to get into spoiler territory, as you said, but most Mario characters are very like two-dimensional in the sense of like Bowser has one motive. It's capture Peach, marry her. Mario wants to save her. Olivia, it was a very like three-dimensional character, and she's written in a way where she conveys a lot of emotions, to a point where there's even quests that kind of revolve around that, which I thought was some of the best things in the game. But as a character, she was good. I also really like Bobby. Bobby was one of my favorites in this game.
Oh yeah.
So he was a good character. But kind of jumping into, maybe we'll have a small spoiler discussion at the end of this, but we'll kind of give a fair warning for you guys. But for the combat system, how did you feel? Because the last two games, they kind of was like bouncing around like what to do, right? So how did you feel about this combat system overall?
It is it's brain taxing, especially in the later levels. I at first, with the whole alignment of the different enemies, it's simple enough in the beginning, but once you get past a certain point, the difficulty really kind of ramps up, and you really have to like sit back and think like, yo, how can I get, like, number one, they only give you 3 turns, so you have to figure out, okay, how can I line up everybody perfectly with a limited amount of turns? And not only that, you're timed while you're doing this, so you can't like just take your sweet time and just, okay, that doesn't work, let me restart. No, you actually have a time limit. And of course this game kind of goes off of the sticker star and color splash thing, where they put a big emphasis on coins. So in order for you to get more time, you have to pay to get more time, and that would take away from your coin. I mean, it's very brave. I felt myself getting stressed out on some of the levels as well. But that is also a good thing, because it encourages critical thinking in RPG. Sometimes with RPGs, it's so automated, what's weak against what, how to do this, but Origami King really kind of forces you to pay attention to the layout, pay attention to this. You really can't play this game passively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the things I kind of got I felt like I got a bad introduction to this game's combat system, because the first introduction I got to this game's combat system was through that Nintendo Direct, where they kind of did like the first 15-20 minutes of the game, and they showed off how the combat system works. And I remember watching it, and I was like, this looks so easy. I was like, this is just like, lining up the characters and just kind of completing it. And that, as I played, and as I kind of watched other people play, and kind of jumped ahead just to see, the puzzles do look kind of difficult, especially when it comes to the bosses down the line,
Yeah, man.
The other night when I was wondering, Olympus and I were going to record the other night, I'm like, where the heck is this guy? And I see him on live on Twitch, raging at the boss. So,
you saw that?
Oh yeah, I was because I was like, where did he go? So, I went on his channel, that he's like, God, what is this? This timer? I can't get past these ice things. And I was like, oh my god.
Okay. That boss.
Yeah, that boss. So I was laughing, because I was like, and here I am, like, thinking about, early on forming, my opinion, like the first half of the game, and I'm like, dude, these enemies are a breeze. Like, I could figure out these patterns, and then seeing like other people, and then you included, like, just pulling your hair out, being like, what do I do here? Right. So, one of the things I thought was interesting, I wasn't as crazy, in my opinion, I wasn't as crazy as the like your standard battles against like Goombas, but I did really enjoy the boss battle. I thought that was a little more intuitive, and it really made you think.
The boss fights. So the boss fights is more so about getting to the boss. That's number one. So, it switches it up for, like I said, in typical RPGs, you just gotta hack away at the health, and it's kind of mindless. But Paper Mario, what you have to do is, like, you have to figure out how the hell to even get to the boss, number one. And then every boss has like their own gimmick, to where certain attacks won't work. You have to attack from this angle. You can't. I mean, it's just a lot. So
yeah,
definitely brain taxing for sure. So be prepared.
And I thought that was the most interesting thing in this game, because I felt your standard battles that you're doing was kind of straightforward to a point where you can kind of just, you're in the center and you just kind of have to figure out where they're lined up. But then when you're at the boss, you're not only are you against figuring out where the boss is moving and how to navigate through the obstacles to get to the boss, but then you're also against the timer in this game.
Oh my god, yeah.
So
yeah.
The timer seems to be, things that kind of frustrate people too. So that was, it was definitely interesting. It's very different, I view, to really enjoy this game, you really can't, if you're like a big hardcore Paper Mario fan, and I get it, but it's if you're expecting that, you're not really going to find it here, in my opinion. So it's like one of those things where if you kind of gotta give and take, and this game as a whole, they're trying to do both. They're trying to really combine their two ideas, which is take that whole 2D 3D platformer type game and kind of mesh it in with the RPG at the same time. Mm-hmm. Even though there's no there's no really experience or leveling up in this one in particular.
Yeah. And I didn't miss it, to be honest with you. No, I thought the way that you progressed in the game, as far as like making Mario stronger, was perfectly fine.
Sure. And then, so how did you feel like, now that you got a complete picture of this game, what were some of the pros? What were some of the drawbacks?
Okay, so the pros. Number one, visually, the game is the best Paper Mario's ever looked, and that's expected because it's on the newest piece of hardware. So, it's kind of unfair to say like it's the best looking one. I mean, I would hope so. Number two, I really love how open the worlds are. There are stages where you're in, a big body of water, which looks like it was inspired by Wind Waker. You have a sea chart. You can explore like this huge, vast ocean and find different secrets and things like that. And also there's a level with the desert when you're riding like a shoe car and you're like in this wide open space. So I thought that was really cool. Another pro is for at least for me, the battle system. As frustrating as I can get, I will say I had a lot of fun being frustrated, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I think the battle system is, very innovative, and I think that it does encourage a lot of engagement from the player, and it requires you to really kind of pay attention. You just can't like mindlessly play this and think you're going to get very far. Also, I like the collectibles and the different things that you can do to get 100% completion, whether that's filling out the confetti holes, finding toads, getting different trophies, so on and so forth. The music is so good. Like, I remember one of my streams, I literally had to stop playing and just take in the song I was playing in the hotel lobby in one of the levels. And you're probably already you're probably there already, but if not, I won't spoil it for you. But so the music is great. The characterization of all the characters are great. A con, I will say there is a couple frustrating mini games that you have to play in order to progress. There's one in particular that I have in mind, but then again, I'm not going to spoil it. You guys, you'll know what I'm talking about once you get there. Besides that, that's the only con I have. That's the only kind of. I mean, I know some people may not like the battle system. I mean, if you get easily frustrated and you're not really good at puzzles, this game may not be for you. You may have to kind of reconsider, playing this game in its entirety. But honestly, I really didn't find a lot wrong with it, to be real with you.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I'll kind of give you my overall pros and cons of this game so far, and that was a good rundown of some of your points. Soundtrack's great. I think the art style looks good too. I thought the pacing of this game was pretty good also, and the characters and everything was definitely a huge step up in my opinion from the last two games as far as kind of writing style wise and making the story interesting. I felt more engaged so far in this game than I did on the last two. Just because you wanted to kind of really know what was happening, and they made sure to kind of cram that point home, just kind of like what I was saying before in Sticker Star, where the game starts off and it's like, oh, here we go again, Bowser's got Peach. So in this game they kind of make it clear it's like that's not what the story is here. It's like Peach is now quote unquote possessed into something else. Bowser is is out of the count right now, and this is the new big guy on the block. So it really keeps me, kind of paced well throughout this game. The first thing I noticed about this game playing is I really enjoyed the open areas. I felt there was a lot to do and explore within them. Lots of cases and secret items, kind of like what you were saying with the collectibles. But I really just thought like the scale of how big the maps are in comparison to other Paper Mario games was kind of good. The drawbacks that I'm having with the game, other than, even though I did enjoy the slow level introduction of some partners into this game, where it's not full force, but it's there. It's kind of enjoyment. Drawbacks again will kind of tie back to, I do miss that whole, the older characters where they were like more creative with it. I feel that they kind of, because of some of the limitations placed on them, they're not as able to get as creative and fun as they want to. And one of the things that I thought this was kind of interesting, I was reading a few articles, is they kind of went with the whole origami theme, and because they kind of as almost a way to get around certain things where it's like you're not really modifying the character, quote unquote. It's an art style type deal. So, which I thought that was kind of cool as a way for them to be a little more creative and explore some more elements in this franchise. My other drawback was, I think in Super Paper Mario, one of the things that, even though the game was so different, one of the things that stood out to me was the overall environments. There's the level where you're in space, and there's a level you're in hell, and then you're in a sweatshop, and it's all different, really unique environments. In this game, I thought it was like kind of here's another grassland, here's another desert area.
Yeah. They kind of played it safe.
So that to me, it was like a big thing that stood out, where I'm just like, oh, come on, guys, let's explore. And I get it, it's a the thing that's kind of surprising with me with the Mario RPG series, and specifically Paper Mario, is Nintendo is really trying to generalize Paper Mario to an extent. Right. And that's why you're seeing a lot of platforming elements into these games, because people are coming to a Mario game and they're expecting, platforming, and they're expecting exploration, they're expecting action game, but it's a spin-off title. For any other franchise other than Mario, I would say that typically spin-off titles are, more appeased to hardcore fans, but I think Nintendo has like a different view on how, spin-off titles are, where, the spin-off series is so big in Mario. You have Mario Kart, you have Mario Party, you have Mario Baseball, and Mario Tennis, and those franchises are big and can stand up on their own. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Outside of the mainline Mario games, so I see they view Paper Mario very differently because of that, and that's why they kind of start stripping away, we can't have this in the story, or we can't modify these characters because it doesn't work with the brand, and so forth. So those concerns, I think, are still with me from overall, but I do think this is, out of the last 3 games, this is definitely the best in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I totally agree.
So let's get to some closings. As promised, we will be ranking these games. Let's, for the hell of it, why don't we also include Mario RPG into this? So
okay.
give me your rundown of like where you would see these games in.
Just the Paper Mario games, right? Not just the RPGs as a whole?
Yeah, let's do the Paper Mario.
Okay, with a bonus Super Mario
Correct.
RPG. Okay, so my number 1...
Because otherwise you would just say Mario and Luigi for the first the top.
I would say Superstar Saga. I sure would. Okay, I guess speaking of that, are we including Paper Jam?
I mean, if you'd like. I mean, I don't really touch on that.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, no, we won't. That's more of a Mario.
Yeah.
Game, so we'll save that for another time. Okay. So out of all the Paper Mario games, this is gonna be a little difficult. Okay.
We could explore that. You just wanted an excuse to get a Mario and Luigi title in there.
My number 1 would have to be Thousand Year Door. I think it's only right to say, for that being really my first Paper Mario experience, and the game that I probably put the most time in and, enjoyed the most, I would say Thousand Year Door is number 1 for me. Number 2, honestly, Origami King. And I don't know if I'm just saying that just because I just finished playing it, but I think as far as an enjoyment level, I really enjoyed the hell out of Origami King. So Origami King would have to be number 2. Oh yeah, that's right. This is gonna be a tie. I will put a tie between Super Mario RPG and Paper Mario Original. Mm-hmm. And then I guess because I haven't played these that much or at all, I think based on what I watched on stream and stuff like that, I would rank Color Splash over Sticker Stars. Sticker Stars obviously gonna be at the bottom. Yeah. So 4 would be Paper Mario Color Splash, 5 would be Sticker Stars.
Okay. And then I think there was, and then as far as Super Paper Mario, where would you slot that in?
Oh, Super Paper Mario. I forgot about that one. Super Paper Mario. Okay, how about this? Number one would be Thousand Year Door. Number 2, Origami King. Number 3 is a tie between Super Mario RPG and Paper Mario 64. Number 5 would be Super Paper Mario, and number 6 would be
Color Splash,
and Sticker Star would be the last one.
All right,
I have to really think about that.
Where you would slot them in. That's the good breakdown. And I'm really I'm actually I'm excited to visit wrap up this game too, because if it's high up on your list, I'm hoping again it ends up with the bang. As it sounds like everyone you really enjoyed it. That's good. On my end, it would definitely be Thousand Year Door, as I think everybody would have guessed. So Thousand Year Door, I really enjoyed. I would probably put Mario RPG as well as the 64 below that. I had a lot of fun. Even though it was a different type of game, I did really enjoy Super Paper Mario as the standout for me, kind of focusing on the environments and how the game, the environments and how it explored different themes in Mario. So that was really fun and exciting to me. Then I would probably slot in Origami King, not as saying as that it's bad. I think it's I think for what it is, I think it's good. I have a lot of fun with it so far. But I do really miss, some of the elements that I'm used to, I guess, in a Mario RPG. But there's still a lot of enjoyment, and there's still a lot of fun to be had there. But I think you just have to, once you kind of get past, I think that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Like, once I get past of missing certain elements and characters and just kind of focus on the game for like what it is, I'll be able to have a better experience with it overall. And then slotting the last is the Color Splash, and then Sticker Star also.
Sure.
But that's a wrap on my end. So is there anything you want to say closing out, Olympus?
Play Origami King.
Yes. I think you guys should. It's a fun game. I know the last 2 Paper Mario games, the Color Splash and Sticker Star, were definitely different from what you guys would expect. But Origami King, I think out of the 3 so far is the best, and I think Nintendo is actually, in my opinion, I think there is some effort to including a more dark themed story, trying to kind of build out some of the RPG elements, as long as with the platforming. I think there's some growing pains right now in the Paper Mario franchise, and hopefully the next couple games here we'll be able to see more of the things that everyone's looking forward to, especially partners. Great.
I totally agree.
Awesome. Well, I expect I'm predicting a Mario and Luigi retrospective down the line, but other than that, thank you so much for watching, guys. This was Hotline Sehwani tuning out. Make sure to like and subscribe, and also make sure to follow Olympus Gaming. Any plugs you want to put at the end of the video?
Yeah, just like you said, follow Olympus Gaming. You can find me on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, everything. So, Olympus Gaming TV.
Hey, if you enjoyed my video, please consider subscribing to Hotline Sehwani as we race towards 3,000 subscribers. If you want to connect with me, please do so on Twitter at Hotline Sehwani, or join our Discord community. Also, please make sure you follow the Hotline Sehwani SoundCloud to listen to all our remixes on the go. All the links are in the description below. Thanks for watching, and as always, I appreciate your continued support.